Bongiwe. Just to again recap, we're here at the Aldo Main High School in Eldorado Park. You shared some harrowing statistics about this community in particular. I think the remarkable thing about this moment is that Eldorado Park reached out to other communities across Gauteng to be able to work collectively to do something about the scourge of gangsterism, crime, drugs, and the lack of service delivery in their communities. I'm not going to spend too much time talking. Tonight is the opportunity for the community to talk to South Africa and let them know their pain firsthand. Let's kick it off with Cheryl Pillay, who is the founder of the Comeback Mission and the chairperson of LEDA. Cheryl, good evening to you and feel very welcome. In your own words, tell the country what your experience in your community has been.
Good evening, Iman, and good evening to the country, to all the viewers. My name is Cheryl Pillay, and yes, we are in day 51 of the camp, 52 of the camp out at the Eldorado Park police station. The Yes Aldos Again movement started on the 11th of September when we started camping out after we realized that the gun violence was getting out of control. At first it was once a month, then it became once a week, eventually it became twice a week, and then we saw daily. We were losing young people, we were losing our fathers, our brothers, our children. And as community leaders, we could no longer be quiet. We could no longer sit back and see that the gang violence was causing so much pain in our community. And we all know that the gun violence is drug related. And Eldorado Park and the various communities has a great drug problem. And due to the drug problem, we encounter a lot of social ills. And this is why the Aldos Again movement has continued to camp out at the police station.
I think it's important to share with our viewers, Cheryl, that the reason you have the Aldos Again, Rivoli Again t-shirts on is that when they call officials, they say, oh, it's Aldos again, or oh, it's Rivoli again. And so they've adopted this as their slogan in the hopes that, you know, something actually will be done and it won't be, yes, our community again. Khadija, I want to bring it to you. You're the chairperson of the Economic Development Forum from Indonesia, which is not that far from here. Khadija Mawi.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting us to this, Iman. And our area is really not targeted at the moment with gang violence, but it's getting there. Our drug-related problem in our area, it's affecting our little ones at school. Selling at schools, we've got about 4 high schools that's a target to our children. In our streets, we have more than 4 to 5 drug peddlers. So in our area is what we are fighting for and what we need the help for. It's more relating drug issues and which can cause again violence very soon.
Joe Davies is here representing Liberty.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Our biggest plight is just unity. We need unity and we need police to work with us as a community. We also need our churches, our mosques. We need unity because together we can fight the joblessness, the crime, the guns, the drugs, the gangs that's arising in schools. So we need unity, not only in Rivoli, but in all our communities. There's so many young lives that have been lost due to these violence and guns and drugs and all kinds of things, but young lives. Lives that could have potentially been somebody and something important. So we just need unity.
And you know, speaking to the community leaders here just about those young lives, every so often you find young bodies lying in the streets having fallen victim to violence. We will be in conversation with some of the families tonight who've experienced that loss firsthand. We're here on what is a unity panel between these communities across Gauteng to say that we are joining forces to make sure that something gets done permanently. Let's talk now to Melody Natalia Rosenberg, who is representing the Greater Kliptown Business Forum.
Good afternoon, good people. I'm Melody Natalia Rosenberg from Kliptown. And thank you for inviting us here, Iman, and thank you, Aldos, for inviting us here. I'm going to talk on behalf of me. 3 years back to 4 years back, I was also there by Johnson's stop. They also gunpoint me. So I'm still struggling with that trauma. It's really not okay. And I feel like I also want Clifton to stand up like elders. What elders can do, like what elders can do, they can also do that. We can also stand up there by the police station campaign for the whole, even if it's like 51 or 52 days. If I'm correct? Yeah. So we can also stand there. So like daily, it's a daily thing. We can't sleep. We can't even send our kids to the shops because this thing is because the community, the people in the community knows who's doing this thing and they just keep quiet. Thank you so much.
Norman Morris, in the pre-briefing as well, you were really keen to share very specific incidents of the problems that you're experiencing in your neck of Gauteng. And this is Ennerdale, which we shared with our viewers earlier at the start of our broadcast. So many murders just in the last 3 months alone. People are just dying.
Iman, thank you so much. Yes, from Ennerdale, born and bred there, and I've experienced so many things over the years. It's almost as though Ennerdale has been deteriorating since the dawn of our democracy. We've seen multiple murders over the last year alone. Just recently in Pinetown, we had 11 people shot, 6 people dying. Ennerdale is in Pinetown, Gauteng, Loli, Kokotela, all these areas, Lakeview, that's an extension of the Ennerdale police station. There was a time in where only 3 police vans were patrolling that entire area. We had a Women's Day march on the 8th of August where Minister Becky Ferrer joined us and we handed over a letter of demand. And this is not our first letter of demand. We've handed in multiple letters of demands to multiple politicians. They say the more things change, the more things stay the same. And my view is politicians come in just to sell a dream. They sell this picture of hope, to canvas for votes, and then they leave. I sometimes wonder, are these the right people that should be representing us? Shouldn't it be someone that's actually in the communities? Recently someone mentioned that as soon as someone in the political sphere is appointed, they are disjointed from the realities of the communities that they should serve because they are given security. They don't feel that fear. They are given free housing. They are given municipal services. They don't see that lack of development in these areas.
Thanks, Norman. And again, we're going to circle back to these issues because when we talk to our politicians and our public representatives a little bit later on, we'll talk about these promises and plans that are not bearing fruit and coming to fruition. Noko Malachi from Slovo Park, thank you so much for being with us as well. Please share what you're seeing and witnessing in your community.
Good evening, man, and the viewers. Firstly, in our area in Slovo Park, we have a problem of cable theft, where mostly now, it's a daily break that we are eating. Once, the electricity gone, this is the time where people are terrorizing the community. Secondly, we have a lack of visibility of SABC, where mostly, you see the van where they are doing, their own work, not to give, the community services. I remember when Becky Ferrer said, we are going to introduce, the tax team that was led by Colonel Kwabani to fight about the cable theft. That is not happening. They just say it, and then at the end of the day, you will never see any visibility. Even the JBD, you see almost the JBD on the road. They have the social crime prevention, unit, where they should come to the community and make sure that those community are being safe. They are not being safe. If you see young people are being, using drugs left and right because they are afraid to do things in the community.
Noko, thank you very much for that. And you can hear collectively through these stories, it is easy for politicians to come in, people in the political complex to come in, have a conversation, make an undertaking, but for the community to re-experience all those traumas that brought those politicians there in the first place. Something has got to give. And that in part is the motivation for this conversation tonight. It's not intended to be just another talk show, but really the community asking to be included as stakeholders in operational plans and in plans that government hopes is going to bring change and create a difference in these communities. But it is always about the stories we don't always focus on, Bongiwe and our viewers. We focus a lot on the statistics. But when you bring it down to a family that has received the news that they've lost someone, and what the vacuum is that's left behind after their violent absence, that's when it becomes even more real to us. And I want to share with our viewers the story of Jaylene James and her family. Jaylene.
Here from Eldorado Park, I'm representing families who have lost their loved ones due to gun violence. I know I've listened where most of you mentioned that it was young people. My brother was actually, I think he's probably the oldest one who passed away. It was not gun related either. He did not belong to any gang member. And as a family, you know, at this point of view, we feel that justice is failing us, because this has been going on for so long. We heard about this until he came knocking on our very own door. You know, it's not just another statistic who's been married. He was a father, he was a son, and I think mainly his children, because they are so young. And I don't know, Eldorado Park just seems like it has become one of the townships where nothing's really done for us. And like I said, you know, we all heard about this until it happened to us. And we cannot get over the fact that this happened to my brother. He was not a gang member. He was not involved in drugs. He was a family man. And people will say he was at the wrong place at the wrong time, but we feel that there was no reason for him to die this way. You know, we witnessed what happened to him. And it just didn't have to happen to him in that manner. So, I don't know. I'm sure the rest of the families who also lost their loved ones surely feel the same way. And you also ask yourself, why him? He did not deserve to die that way.
The family is here in solidarity, but for that story, as powerful and as painful as it is, when we realize that it meets the stories of countless others in communities right here in Gauteng on our doorstep, the impact becomes so stark. The losses are mounting, the body count is mounting in Gauteng over this issue. What do young people do? Where do they go? How do they occupy themselves? And it's one of the issues we're going to bring into Start Focus in our next panel, is what does the community do now? Where do they go from here? We've had a view of what's happening in places like Ennerdale, in places like Slovo Park, in Eldorado Park. Let's find out what our political representatives have been doing and how they plan to do better going forward. And I want to bring in MEC Tasneem Motara, who's a member of the Executive Committee for Economic Development here in Gauteng. She will also be joined by Ms. Tembeni Mhlongo, who's the head of department, the HOD here in Gauteng in the Department of Social Development. And we'll also have Councillor Belinda Ezio Jonku, who's a member of the Mayoral Committee for Development Planning. Thank you to all of you for being with us this evening. Really do appreciate your time. MEC, I want to begin with you. Let's talk about how we empower a community. You know, communities like Eldorado Park and the others that we've mentioned tonight. One of the key complaints is there's simply not enough for young people particularly to do.
Well, thanks so much, Iman, and to the community. I think what we are focusing on as the provincial government is the township informal settlements and the hostels, because they are the most depressed areas of our province. The townships like Eldorado Park house the majority of our citizens, but who have not enough in terms of economic opportunity. What we are doing to address that is bring private sector investment we're driving private sector investment into those townships. Importantly, though, is to be able to get the communities involved in all our public programs that we have. We had an engagement with the community 2 weeks ago where we outlined some of the things that we are going to do. Before the end of this year, my department is going to bring some of our private sector partners who are going to be educating as well as outlining how they can get involved. Some of the private sector partners that we partnered with, we co-fund and we match the funding that they have. So 50 million, we provided 50 million. Another investor has put 100 million, we'll provide 100 million. But
that sounds like a lot of money. It sounds like a lot of money, and some would say, as we look around, we are not seeing the effects and the fruits of those types of investments. This is a new portfolio for you, and we know that part of our problem really in local government is when governments change and whether the plans that were set by the previous administration are able to continue. So what are you picking up from in terms of what is already established that you are building on, that the community can see is visible evidence that things are improving?
So importantly, like I was saying, the 2 weeks ago when we had the engagement, the community spoke very starkly about the social or the drug response plan that is in place. And I think it's a few years old now. So we have all got to be able to track responses to that, because it includes national government, it includes the municipality, it includes the provincial government. Of course, it's about, we've always said that there's 20 priority townships in the province. Eldorado Park is one of them. But a big challenge that we have as the province is Gauteng is immigration. We have immigration from other provinces, we have immigration from our neighboring countries. It does put a lot of pressure on spending patterns, on our infrastructure plans, on our current spatial plans. So where we would not have planned for before, a simple thing like education. We plan for the numbers that we have. In January, we'll have between 60 to 70,000 of new entrants into the system that we just didn't know about, that we just didn't plan for, that will arrive on the first day that school opens. But we've got to be able to address how do we deal with that. Of course, a big part of addressing that is how we work with our provinces that neighbor us. Because if they don't develop and accelerate development on their side quick enough, they are not responding and adding to the pressure that is created in Gauteng.
We'll circle back to this issue, but I want to come to you, Ms. Mhlongo, and let's talk about social development. And this is an area you understand well, you have a lot of experience here. We were talking to some of the community members in preparation for this, and we look at the existence of lolly lounges, for example, that have been there for a long time. In fact, one of our community members, who will speak a little bit later on, reminded us of a lolly lounge that was here when Jacob Zuma, when he was president, came to visit in 2013, which is still in operation. And a little boy, a teenager, is still living there, and the situation in his life has deteriorated. So there were plans made during that administration. And there have been plans made in administrations since. What can you share with the community about real work that you have been doing as a department in these afflicted communities?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. The Gauteng Department of Social Development is not working alone with regard to prevention programs focusing on social ills that are in the communities. We are a lead department with regards to coordination of substance abuse. We work with other key departments, including law enforcement agencies. So on the issue of the lolly lounges that are here in Eldorado Park, you must understand that in terms of our anti-substance abuse strategy, it has got 3 pillars. We have got a pillar that focuses on supply reduction, which is the main pillar whereby our law enforcement agencies are supposed to help us to ensure that there is no drugs in our communities. A number of our communities would know where drugs are being sold within communities. So we need to strengthen that. So as a department, we are not law enforcement, but we do work with key partners. We also have another pillar, which is demand reduction. That is where we need to focus on prevention programs. I must say, we currently, our new Premier Lesufi, has indicated that we need to focus on the township informal settlement and hostels, as MEC Motara has said. One of the key things that we have realized is that we need to upscale on the services on substance abuse and ensure that we also focus on these 3 pillars. The last pillar is the harm reduction. This is where people who have now slipped into substance abuse, then they are expected to be taken for rehabilitation. But I must say that indeed it may not look enough, but we've been trying. It's just that now we must upscale and make concerted effort to ensure that we deal with that. We have a plan that is going to focus on key areas where we know that there are substance abuse challenges, including Eldorado Park.
Mr. Mpongo, I don't know if you are listening to the audience responding and reacting to what you're saying. It's not a very good reaction and response. And some would say, you know, this sounds so good on paper, but we are simply not seeing it. To the mic in just a moment to address this particular thing, but Belinda, I want to give you the opportunity as well. What has been happening? What assessments have you made in terms of an audit of what is available and what is being made available now that is impactful to our communities?
I would like to thank you very much, Iman, for the opportunity. I'd like to thank the residents of Eldos for letting us have the opportunity to come and speak again. I must tell you, I grew up in an area like Eldos, even though. And I'm just saying to you that I was hoping that MEC Mutara would mention the issue of the township economic zones, which the city and the province have been talking on bilateral terms quite closely on, because there are zoning that from development planning we are doing to try and make it easier for factories to fast track areas like close to Vlakfontein, close to Zachariah Park, where there's open fields where people wanting to do industries to try and fast track it. And that, unfortunately, we've only been in government for 9 months. So obviously, those are some of the things that we come now. He's trying to fast track the zoning, and in order to be able to get those industries to come in and actually create more jobs, which will assist in some of the drug issues, the empowerment issues, which is in this, that's happening in this area. The other area that we've also been working on is the area of the opportunity centers that was supposed to have worked. Unfortunately, I see that it hasn't worked. It was at the Don Maitland Hall, which was supposed to assist not only job seekers, but also informal traders and also small businesses, where they would be able to get access not only to loan fundings and from the private sector or government. And that's an example. MMC in Bundu was MEC Mutara, I think a week ago, we're talking about schools. Not only schools, but why fast track zones for industry, for business, to make it easier, including town shops, farm shops, where people find it difficult to get the compliances, to make it easier for them to
take a break from me on that one. And I don't know if the three of you can kind of gauge, you know, the mood of a room, which is really emblematic of a mood of all of these communities. And it's not just Eldorado Park here tonight. You have Riverlea, you've got Lenasia, you've got Innerdale, you've got Slovo Park, you've got others. That there seems to be a distance between the plans that are made and the reality still. In order for the country to hear you, we have to work together. So just say who you are and what organization you're representing, and as short as possible, please.
The HOD of Social Development, Cheryl Panay, and I'm one of the activists. And yes, social development is totally distant from our community. HOD, you yourself have been invited to our community to come and sit down and engage, and you haven't been. Yes. You have got reports. Just this weekend, a 30-year-old committed
it's not a question as such. My name is Peter Munete from Freedom Park, which is another informal settlement just next to Eldorado Park. Unfortunately, I mean, we can sit here the whole day, the whole week, talking about our problems. There is serious gun violence in our area. Our areas are similar to Eldorado Park problems. However, it's very sad, I mean, to hear the officials sitting here telling us about the funding, like 100 million, 50 million, you know, that are supposed to assist us, and we don't see anything. However, and also what I want to add, at the moment in Freedom Park, we were engaged in a social audit, and then the answers that we are finding when we go one-on-one, house to house, with the people in informal settlements, the way they are occupying. It's very sad. I mean, you'll find elderly people who can't even go to the toilet because remember they are using the toilets that are supplied by the government somewhere there. They can't even go to the toilet. They have to use the buckets because of the violence that is there in our community. Also, we don't have a police station. We use the same police station in Eldorado Park. Can you imagine how the distance from Freedom Park to come to Eldorado Park? But we always get this kind of answers where the officials will tell us that I'm 10 months in the office. I'm just 10 months in the office. And next time we come to same story. So we are finding ourselves in a serious problem. But this problem, you must be aware that one day they will grow and then you can't, help it.
Obviously being asked really hard questions and direct questions relate to accountability, and this is the burden and the responsibility of office. So, HOD, I'd like to give you the opportunity to respond first, and I think the key thing there is, how are you taking the community along with these plans for their own betterment?
Thank you. I think I need to emphasize the fact that, because I think the biggest challenge around the lorry lounges, I've already indicated that we are not supposed to work alone as a department. And I think people that are seated here are aware that some of those lorry lounges are owned by drug lords. So you can imagine a social worker who's not armed, how can he or she go there? So we need to organize a session where we'll be accompanied by law enforcement to go and probably rescue that child. That's right. But number two, yes indeed, we need to work with communities because they always say it takes a village to raise a child. What do they mean by that is that we expect communities to be our ears and eyes. We may not see that, and I want to respond to the issue senior officials from the department that are responsible for stakeholder relations, because we take communities as stakeholders. Mr. Ngoman, he led the Department of Social Development. He was here because there are other competing priorities, and I hope the community of Eldorado Park appreciates
what are some of these competing priorities?
We find that perhaps the national engagement that I have to attend, and so probably a meeting that I cannot absent myself as long as I'm not sick. But all I'm saying is, it's not that the department did not come. And from the office of the premier, there's a Tirisano unit which assists departments to coordinate. So they also play with that unit.
I think the point is, and if I may, what I'm hearing so starkly is people want to see people like yourselves visible among them. Tasneem, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about what the comrade from Freedom Park was talking about. We talk about these big sums of money, but nobody can see the manifestation of these projects where they are.
So, unfortunately, Iman, the reality is that you're not going to get a police station in an informal settlement. It's just not going to happen. Yes, I'm saying that it's not going to happen in an informal settlement. A settlement that is formalized, Fine Town is formal. Fine Town is formal. And where you have formalization of cities and municipalities, you have health services, all of that, you will have infrastructure. where we're going to have formalized spaces in your different communities, that will be followed by schools, by clinics, etc., etc. So where you have an informal settlement, because for various reasons, some of the areas that are settled on, that are informal, are not actually habitable for humans. So we have a situation, for instance, in the north of the province. Every time it rains, those people have settled on a floodline and were warned that that's a floodline. Now in the summer months, it's going to rain, it's going to wash away those settlements. So, and I'm saying that we want communities to work together with us to understand where government services can go, where government services can do, and what government services can do.
But I think, if I may, because we're up against the clock and it's 6 o'clock, so I'm going to round that out, is the idea that government also stretches out their hand to the community to work at the first instance, to understand what is the experience, what solutions do you have, what is your understanding, and take them along on the journey, and they believe that's not happening. So I'm going to leave it on that point, only because we're out of time. Thank you very much to all of you for being a part of our broadcast. We really appreciate your availability tonight. On that note, Pungiwe, you put it so aptly, there's such a distance between dry pieces of paper, black and white, audit statements, and the experiences of people in the communities that those plans and strategic interventions are meant to benefit. And you can feel that so palpably here in Eldorado Park tonight. As I say, not just Eldorado Park represented, but communities across Gauteng, Ennerdale, Westbury, Coronationville, and many others who are here to ask for accountability, to ask, please come and talk to us, include us as stakeholders. And I want to begin this segment, Pungiwe, with the voices of the community. So we have a few people already ready who would like to make some comments and statements before we launch into a panel that really focuses on law enforcement and accountability. Let's take a comment from the floor. Just say your name and who and where you're from. And also, if we can, just keep the comments as brief as possible.
Thank you so much. I am the ward councillor for Ward 18, Councillor Joya Kaupini. General Marsha, you are coming here to sit again and give us long stories. We are tired of your stories, stories after stories. We told you we want Maluleka gone. He is dysfunctional, his police station is dysfunctional, he disrespects the members in the police station. Did he tell you that one of the police officers took out a firearm for him the other day? Did he tell you that in front of residents? Can you come to the ground and can you do the work in the ground in Eldorado Park? We are tired of this police station. We are tired. Listen to the tiredness in my voice. You sit on these panels, you sit in boardrooms. We don't want to sit in boardrooms anymore. It's our community. We are saying no to the money laundering. We are saying no to the illegal firearms. What's good on paper is not good on the ground. Maluleka must leave this community. He has nothing to do with this. You have illegally appointed him as the station commander for Eldorado Park. Remove him from this community. We don't want him here anymore.
My name is Rastam from Malaysia. The question arises is safety and security. Police is failing us. There's so many elderly here. What happened in the Eldorado Park in the past? What happened to martial law? I think that will solve our problem. Just checking and talking all these debates, money matters, police matters, then they're failing us. I think martial law needs to be implemented to solve our problem.
Good evening, my name is Kido Arte, a victim of Maluleka. General Marsha, it is true that we've said put you at countless times in meetings, trying to come to some resolutions. But I'm saying this to you now, General Marsha. There's agents within the police force they want this division. They want us to be divided. So, General Marsha, may I humbly plead to you, let Maluleka go.
Eldorado Park Police Station. We'll get some responses from Major General Max Marsha in just a moment. Final comment before we come back to our panel.
Good evening. My name is Eldorado. I'm a concerned resident of Eldorado Park. I just need to find out from Alex Pretorius from the Yes Movement. Unfortunately, on the chopping block this evening. There is no way that you can have a station commander who is not open to speak to the community of Eldorado Park. There is no way that you can have a station commander who blocks the ward councillor on WhatsApp because he doesn't want to speak to her. There is no way that you can have a station commander who thinks nothing of the residents of this community. Right now we are sitting with a file. That file contains all of the complaints from the police station, where officers have refused to open up cases because they deem it fit for people to engage and to negotiate. Those officers we have complained to you about. I have sent you WhatsApps with names. I have sent you WhatsApps with details with regards to cases, and you have said that you will sort it out. But right now, we are sitting with a file of 50 plus cases where they have been turned away from the police station because the station commander has decided that he will not deal with colored people in Eldorado Park. It is unacceptable. You cannot sit there and tell us that you are not aware of how the people of Eldorado Park feel about the so-called brigadier and station commander of the Eldorado Park police station. It is unacceptable that you are going to tell us that there's a plan in place because your plan is dismally failing the people of Eldorado Park.
Bring their focus directly to Major General Max Marsha. We're talking there about the station commander, Brigadier Mkatani Maluleke, who the community has been calling. I think they've been in protest now for 51 days, according to the Israel. Major General Max Marsha, the Johannesburg District Commissioner for the SAPS. This, I imagine, is very hard for you to hear, but how are you going to respond?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to be here on set. Let me start or respond by...
Welcome to, you can address it now.
Okay. Yeah. There was a time, I can tell you, that the shooting here in Eldorado Park, I was receiving WhatsApps almost on a daily basis. Now, I don't know when was the last time I received that WhatsApp. Whether people camping are patrolling the streets. The police are patrolling the streets.
Let's talk about the police visibility and the patrol. So how many patrol cars do you have on the streets, for example, here in Eldorado, and how are you visible
from our side, as the SAPS, they vary on a daily basis. So I can't for sure tell you that, but on a good day, when you have everybody here, you have at least about 20 vehicles. That is only SAPS, not counting JP, I think they're having about 28 vehicles on the day. So the other day, we had a meeting about that they're referring to. This community, that's why I'm not sure, when I spoke to the one of the communication from Eldorado Park, are they aware about this meeting? They say they're not aware. They're hearing from me now. So it means communication somewhere was communicated in such a way, it must give a picture.
But there's a very sharp and crisp question, because I want to bring in the rest of the panel. Just one quick question. Serious complaints around the station commander. What are you doing about it?
Yeah, but that is part of what I'm going to say. It's not, for us as a police, it's not about just removing a person. We said there are processes, there are legal laws about it. You don't just remove a person because you feel like removing it. So there are processes that must be followed. We said that already. National Health Office last year, the minister has the memorandum for this community. It's very necessary. So all the processes are
There are legal processes, you're saying, that need to be followed. Councillor David Tembe, your purview is public safety, but those communities within the city of Johannesburg, what is your operational response?
Yes, I got the complaint, I think it was on the 14th, and then on the 15th, I turned up here at the police station where I met the community, and I committed about 100 officers. And we committed about officers from public order policing, and from them, we introduced what we call it 22 points. It means, therefore, when you talk about visibility, we said at any given time, we'll have 22 points where they'll do roadside checks and stop and search. Yes. Yes. I tell you the officers, remember, I've got commanders, I've got the chief of police. They give me a report every week. They give me the story about what they're doing.
Do you think that your plans are working?
Yes, the plans are working. When we talk about physical police.
Let's bring in Jeremy James and Dwayne Ponsonby. Now, somebody who works with the community on a daily basis, and you have been telling me how you've been trying your best to get the attention of the relevant departments, not just for the last few months or the last few years, but for many, many years now. What is your experience in terms of interfacing with those who have a responsibility to do their jobs here in places like Eldorado Park?
Thank you so much, Iman. I think for me it's about empowering our community. This government has clearly showed us that they are incapable of governing South Africa. What we are facing right here in Eldorado Park, this is not an Eldorado Park thing. This is a South African problem. We see that on all spheres of government cannot govern. Right? We have been at the tent for 52 days. Come 2024, they're going to expect us to show up at their tents. This is actually very simple. We have General Marshall sitting here. We sent them a memorandum saying, these are our simple demands. We're not asking government to go the extra mile. We are saying, government, actually just fulfill your mandate. We asked them, how many, let's do a profile on the police station. They came back to us in writing and telling us that we have 63 vehicles. They actually forgot to tell us that more than 80% of those vehicles are standing at the garage. They came back and they told us that they have over 300 places for the elderly. They forgot to tell us that all of those places are actually full and it's under-resourced. We said to them, give us an intake office HOD that will deal with substance use disorder. We don't want to hear your high-level response. We want to know, specific to Eldorado Park, what are you doing? Every time government comes into our community, they say, we'd like to first listen from the people and we'd like to engage. Engage on what? How many more years do you want to hear from the community? Can government for once show up and come and sit on a panel and say, today we are coming to a community. We have 10 grants for youth. We have startup businesses. We are deploying social workers. We have a sustainable policing plan. When we go out as community, as women, and we patrol our streets, we have successes. General Marshall, we found a stolen vehicle. We found 3 old people in a lorry. We go out, and these are the successes we have. But when your police goes out, when government comes here, they tell us we want the community to work with us and we want them to give them information. Information on the same drug houses that's been operating for the past 10 years. Everyone knows where they are. We are tired and we are saying let us mobilize all communities across South Africa and see what happens.
That you're experiencing about what we hear from the police. And if we weren't in the community, we get the sense that the situation is in hand. There are officers deployed, there are resources deployed. What is your experience where you are?
Thank you, Iman. Thanks to the
And also, you're a community councillor, I must add, a ward councillor. When the community comes to you, are you able to activate the resources of local government for the benefit of the community?
I firstly want to say this, and this is the effect that we are seeing today. There's social problems. It leads to a lot of social dissatisfaction, and it brings about misery and a lot of suffering. And our people has been suffering because of this. The lack of servitude is nothing new to this community. We have not seen it. People declare that they are delivering services. They make it known in the corridors of government that they are delivering services here, which they are not. They are laying claim to things that we on the ground are doing daily. We are breaking our backs. We are working the ground. Yet if you escalate and if you ask for resources, it's not coming to us. This causes dissatisfaction, it causes suffering, and it causes misery. Our people are placed in a position of disadvantage, and people want to play politics. A DA who's had 28 years to fix, you fix nothing. I am frustrated sitting here today because do not take claim for stuff that the community is doing themselves. This movement has up until now done what is done for today and what is today. This is the result of that. Up until now, the pure disrespect and disregard from national, provincial, and district police, it is disgusting.
Let's go to the floor really quickly for some closing comments before we wrap up this talk.
Afternoon, my name is Ishma from Lake. I'm from a place called Rivoli. Alright, here's a problem about Rivoli. Thanks, the mayor visited Eldorado Park and he went straight to Westbury, whereby he left Rivoli. And Rivoli also has the same challenges, but we've been sidelined. Another important point I want to bring up, our premier, Lesufi Panaza, said there is a program that you sign up and it helps with house shops to employ locals. Standard Bank doesn't know anything about it. I've been to Standard Bank and we wanted to hand in our application and we were told there's no such thing. So the premier comes with empty promises. Local government comes with empty promises. But the fact of the matter is here, we are from Rivoli and we can bypass.
My name is Joseph Park. I grew up in Klapa and Gorkutsa. When we come to the police, it's heartbreaking. You hear that they got cars. When you go to police and you see the van standing on bricks, flat wheel. It's a disgrace. Always when you look at the police van, they are running to drug dealers, they're taking money there. When you phone at night, there's stop vans. Where our people must run, we want to know from you guys. You must end that light, that blue light. Take it away because you're holding the criminals. Take it away, the blue light. Thank you.
My name is Margaret Arnold. I'm a councillor in the city of Johannesburg, but I'm also a resident of Eldorado Park. MMC Tembe, you know you're my favorite MMC in the city. But let me say to you, you took 3 hours to bring the plan to Eldorado Park. But on Sunday, my nephew was stopped. And I even spoke to Chief Kanile. They checked for license and they wanted his money that was in the side. They wanted the 1,000 rand. The guy said to him, I'll take your car or you give me this. Pointing to the money. And I'm saying to you, the stop and searches is only for license, nothing else. So don't let them fool you. They are failing us.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Leo Williams, chairperson of Ward 18. Representing the Patriotic Alliance. I don't want to shy away from this because everybody says that we shouldn't politicize things, but I definitely think everything derives from politics. All our social ills come from politics. Because nothing is being done in our community. So I would like to ask, why is it being said that processes need to be followed when it comes to letting Maluleka go, and yet his appointment was unlawful because he was a 10th person in the row? And also, again, when we have normal citizens that are affiliated with the Patriotic Alliance, they have been told that they cannot be serviced at the Eldorado Park police station.
There is one issue that will, I don't know, create a psychological advantage for the police, it would seem, in this community. And that is if you deal with the issue around the station commander as they're asking, in a legal fashion, as you say. Where are you in that process in terms of taking that particular complaint seriously and escalating it?
Let's start with the second person. And I'm just concerned that if one of them is a government official, that my leg was illegally appointed. And now somebody say he was even on the 10th position. I don't know where they get that information. Because even if I was going to show you the shortlisted people, not 10 people are shortlisted. You know. So I don't know why they come up with these stories. That's one part. But secondly, the matter is escalated. What we are waiting for now, head office on it is all right. You've investigated at your level. We'll come as an office to investigate, inspectorate, so that we can find anything that we can say Maluleke violated. You understand? So that is the only thing. So what from where we are at the moment, there is not any legal thing that will compel us to go Maluleke. That's why we say we cannot just
I have to leave it there, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but we are out of time. And that is where we're going to wrap. Don't speak over me, please. I have to wrap the broadcast, unfortunately. The purpose of us being here in Eldorado Park, listening to communities from across Gauteng, is really just the beginning of a conversation that the rest of the country needs to be very intimate with. These are the stories and experiences that you're living with every day. These highlighting of the political deficiencies to respond to communities such as yourselves is a problem that's not only here, it's around the country, and something needs to be done. And if you've done anything in terms of our broadcast tonight, it's really to raise that as a spotlight issue. Where is the agency of the communities and the representation of those grassroots stakeholders in the formulation of government's plans in how they deal with the problems in our society? Thank you to everyone who is a part of our broadcast today. Thank you to the Aldermain High School and the principal and staff for accommodating us and having us here. And we wish you safety, we wish you peace. And again, just condolences to all of you who've lost someone that you love in the violence that has been stalking our communities. On that note, we hand it back to Auckland Park in Johannesburg.